Guys, this is 1979 classic XR500. Stone cold, stone cold. Hasn't been started in a couple days. Fully rebuilt by the pros here at the New England Motorcycle Museum, along with some help from our good friend Jeff Castine at All Sports Cycle. And this is the bike that dominated the big bore market in the 70s. This bike right here, out of 11 bikes, competitive bikes, Cycle World chose it as the #1 big bore enduro. And I usually can start at second kick. It does have an automatic decompression lever, so you go kick it right past TDC like that, and then give it a good kick. Usually I can get it second kick. You go right past TDC, right there. Let's see. Third kick this time, but stone cold sober. This motor is fully rebuilt with a new Wiseco high compression piston on it, and it runs like an absolute charm. I'll go over all the details with you earlier, as soon as we're done doing the riding portion of the demo, but it's going to start raining out. We've got a big storm coming, so I'm going to take it for a quick rip.
You heard him right, guys. The XR500 is stone cold sober. Tuesday morning here at the museum. Got this cool 79 XR500 with a 23-inch front wheel. Just rebuilt, refreshed by the boys here in shop at Kaplan Cycles. On a Torquey 500, Senior can hang him for sure. He still got it. Pretty big work order on this one, so stay tuned. Senior will go over it. The work will also be listed in the eBay description. But she's ready to roll, guys.
This thing is an absolute rush. I can only describe the engine as effortless in riding wheelies. Just crack the throttle at 2,000 RPM and it'll stand straight up, and it's got so much engine compression, it's very safe to do wheelies. Just let off the throttle, the front end comes right back down. You don't even have to cover the rear brake on this thing. Engine and transmission are better than new on this bike. This is typical Honda quality. CDI ignition, counterbalance motor, just an absolute joy to ride. Long travel suspension. This has a 1-year only 23-inch front wheel, which gives a real stable feel. It'll go over ruts and bumps, like rolls over ruts and bumps much easier. And it has a lot of advantages the Honda engineers put into it, but it's just really rare piece. I can't stress how rare it is to find one of these, let alone one that was massaged to perfection. I have a $3,000 plus, I think it's just under $3,500 work order I'll go over with you. This was an engine out of frame, rebuild the motor, went through the whole thing top to bottom. I'll go over the details with you, but we're expecting it's August 4th. We're expecting the hurricane to roll in here any moment. There's all kinds of warnings for high winds, and it's looking pretty dark out. So let me take it for a little rip, and then I'll go over the details with you when I bring it inside. Personal daily rider is a Honda XR650L and a KLR 650, and I can ride any bike I want to ride here at the museum. I got 300 bikes I could ride. Something about the big bore 4-stroke, the effortless power, the counterbalanced engine, the stress-free power. They're awesome to ride on the street too, and these can be registered with a little bit of effort. It can be made street legal.
Definitely the ultimate Sunday rider. If your forte is off-road, rip it to your buddy's house, rip it to work. These bikes came stock with the headlight. If I'm not mistaken, I'm 99% sure And this bike has a lighting coil, so you could technically hitch up a rear running light and a headlight, depending on your state's requirements. It'll be all ready for registration. The bike is sold on bill of sale from us, so we don't have a title with it, but we can show you how to obtain a transferable registration very easily. Call us for more information.
Again, effortless power with no vibration, and the motor is totally under stress. You don't have to rev it very high, so it was easy to imagine while I was cruising down the street in 5th gear, going 1,000 miles on this thing and winning the Baja 1000 like it has done numerous times. Scott Summers has won multiple Grand National Cross Countries championships on the successor to this bike right here, but this is the one that started it all, the XR500. This is a classic. It has the CR style shocks, CR style forks, very lightweight, under 300 pounds for what it is, and it's a beauty. Original paint, low hour survivor. It's got the high compression piston, new rings. It's up and all redone. It's bored. Let me grab the work order and I'll tell you exactly what was done with it. Let's bring it inside. It's starting to rain, and we'll go over everything. Stop. Legit, I could ride wheelies on this thing all day, absolutely beyond the shadow of a doubt. Effortless wheelies, effortless power, counterbalance motor. This thing will run forever. It's just been redone by the pros here at the New England Motorcycle Museum with the help of Jeff Castine at All Sport Cycle. Every good enduro rider loves. It's a chance to take unfair advantage of the other guy. To have a machine so hot that all those poor bozos out there are sure you found some kind of shortcut. Well, this is the Hyper Trick bike of 1979. This is the bike that did it. It was almost an unfair advantage, but it was perfectly legal. A powerhouse 4-stroke single with all kinds of low-end torque and mid-range punch and more top-end muscle than you're likely to ever need in your typical enduro. On this XR500, you've got 4 valves to the cylinder and Pentroof combustion chambers, engine counterbalancers that keep the vibration level low because it's a very torquey, big single. So normally, like on the XT600, the Yamaha version, or the Suzuki DR, they vibrated a lot. They'd buzz in the handlebars. Not this one. This is Honda counterbalance perfection. So it has aluminum triple clamps and a special 4-bolt axle clamp for increased rigidity, along with the long travel front forks. In back, a pair of inverted lay-down CR-style gas shocks provide 7.8 inches of rear wheel travel. With this suspension, the XR500 can make pretty fast time over rough enduro terrain, and that 23-inch innovative front tire is a good example of how it does that. It has a longer footprint on the ground to help you steer, corner, and brake better, and a large diameter keeps it from getting swallowed up as deeply by ruts and potholes. Both wheels feature the front wheel is the original Honda designed claw action enduro tire. A major consideration when they built the XR500 was to make it light, and it is 271.2 pounds. That's really light for a big bore 4-stroke of that era. The wheels are a good example of the low weight design. Both hubs are conical aluminum alloy with magnesium alloy brake backing plates. The rear brake anchor arm is aluminum and has been drilled to further reduce weight, and both wheels are laced to strong DID alloy rims. There's all kinds of special features that stand out on this machine, like the slick combination headlight number plate, which is something you're not going to see one like that on another bike. It's unique to this bike. The automatic decompression system that showed you, I started it stone cold. First time I've ridden this bike. I rode another XR last week, but the first time I've ridden it, and started at third kick effortlessly. So it has a chucked in trailing front brake arm to help minimize snagging on bushes. Just trickery everywhere. Here's the bike for the rider who will settle for nothing less than the most powerful, technically advanced four-stroke enduro machine available today. This is right the Honda's brochure from 1979, the all-new Honda XR500 single. It's amazing how modern it feels for a 41-year-old bike. I mean, riding my brand new XR650, if you close your eyes, has a very similar feel. The 60 is an evolution of this motor. It's a high-performance, enduro-ready four-stroke. If you want to race AHMR racing, there is no better four-stroke from this era. If you want to go to Mid-Ohio and run some of the vintage racing and events, this would be a great tool to do that with. It has everything you're going to need. 497 cc's of four-stroke power. It's a big bore short stroke, 89 by 80 millimeter. A freer breathing overhead cam 4-valve Pentruth head with centralized spark plug provides efficient combustion. Firepower comes from the hot sparking, maintenance-free capacitor discharge ignition. Together, these components help the engine deliver more power than any other production four-stroke single of that era. 35.4 rear-wheel horsepower at 6,500 RPM. Air-cooled, 8.6:1 compression ratio, a single 35 millimeter piston valve, key-in carburetor. Again, CDI, kickstart, starts no problem, doesn't need electric start, has an automatic compression release, and has peak torque at a low 5,500 RPM and max horsepower at a low 6,500. Like I said, effortless wheelies all day. Chain drive, 37 millimeter Showa forks. Drum brakes front and rear work great. You wouldn't know there are drums unless you looked. They were the state-of-the-art drums. And this thing has a top speed of 92.2 miles an hour. What other dirt bikes come out of the factory with a top speed of 92 miles an hour? Very few. Just, that's remarkable. And with the right gearing, they'll easily do 100 miles an hour all day long, like they do in the Baja 1000. It's a quarter lighter machine. Main shaft mounted engine counterbalancers are the keys to the bike's entire design. Honda's R&D department hit one out of the frame, hit one out of the park with this one. Leading axle forks on the front have 8.8 inches of travel. I pretty much covered most of the stuff. It is a 5-speed transmission with folding shift lever and folding brake lever tips so they won't get broken. It has an 11 inches of ground clearance, which is good for even by today's standards, and the motor's just an absolute hoot. I'll go over what we did to the motor. The engine's been rebuilt. I'm going to go into our work order on the bike. Now, the total of the work order is 3,544 hours. There's 30 hours of labor on here written up, but I know it was more than that. In fact, I'm positive it was, but the techs sometimes round things down. In this case, they did. It was in a detail shop for 9.5 hours and in the service department for 20.5 hours. Let me go over the mechanical side of things first, because that was really the new thing. The engine was removed from the frame, disassembled the top end. It's bored out to 89.5 millimeters. Standard bore is 89. A high compression Wiseco piston was fitted 10.5:1, raising the compression from 8.6, giving it a huge boost in power. It's probably got 2 to 4 horsepower more than stock, and more can be had with a performance exhaust, but we left the stock exhaust on it to keep it quiet, so in original, because it is a classic. So the engine's got the high compression piston. We reground all the valve seats and installed new intake valves and all new valve seals. We helicoiled every one of the rocker box cover bolts. We repaired the throttle slide linkage, installed the bike back in the frame, and jetted the carburetor. Everything, carb was completely disassembled and rebuilt, and it runs like a brand new motorcycle. So it's got 2 new intake valves, 4 new valve seals, has a decompression shaft, new decompression shaft seal, new Wiseco 89.5 millimeter piston with new rings. Again, it's a 10.5:1, and we've got VP 110 fuel in there and new oil. So it also has new handlebar grips on there if you take a close look. The Kickstarter was serviced and tightened up. The wiring was gone through on the bike. Let's see. It has a brand new 520 gold Renthal chain, and the carburetor again was rebuilt, cleaned, and installed with new vent lines and tuned. So that's it for the mechanical side of things. It also has I almost forgot, zoning in on those shocks, Kenny. That's a close to $400 pair of brand new progressive shocks with less than an hour ride time. So brand new shocks, new rear tire. It's a Michelin rear tire. The thing hooks up like crazy. New Michelin tire, new gold 520 chain, and the original tire is still in good condition, indicating very low mileage on the original frame and motorcycle. The original paint's intact. The original seat is intact. We did install a brand new front and rear fender on it, though, to freshen it up, and also a new headlight mask surround. So they're OEM style front and rear fenders and headlight. It's got a new spark plug in it too. So that pretty much summarizes the mechanical end of things. Again, the work order came out to $3,544 out the door. Over 30 hours labor plus parts. Call any reputable shop, ask them what their hourly rate is, and heck, if they would even do it, and they'd probably look at you. And if you gave them this video and said, "Hey, let me take my XR500 and do the same thing, get an estimate," you'll find it's well over $3,000 if you can find anybody to do it. This one's done. Buy it right off into the sunset. The restoration shop, Doc worked on this bike. He started by steam cleaning it, and then the frame rails were touched up. The original black paint, you can still see it still has the original swing arm sticker on there, indicating it wasn't a full repaint, just a touch up on there. All the aluminum on the bike, the aluminum front forks were lightly polished. The engine, the entire engine, which was removed from the frame and rebuilt, was cleaned, sanded, and repainted. So the high temp aluminum, the Honda Cloud Silver, just the painted surface. The aluminum surfaces are not painted. Just the side covers were repainted. The exhaust was removed and serviced and cleaned and sandblasted and painted the high temp ceramic coating black, which should last a long time. The hubs were touched up. The seat, the original seat, was reconditioned with a vinyl reconditioner. The original handlebars, which is really remarkable that this thing has original handlebars and original front tire, indicating it was never raced off-road. Because the first time somebody like Junior or me gets on it and flips it over, guaranteed the stock bars would bend. They're very fragile compared to like a set of Rentals or the 1-inch bars. Original handlebars, indicating very low hours, those were repainted. A lot of the chassis bolts were removed and vapor blasted by Ronnie, one of our restoration specialists here in the detail shop. So, you know, totally gone through top to bottom. And then, of course, I would inspect the bike and send it back 2 or 3 times as usual to get it perfect. I was talking to Mike Ressler last night about how we do things here and how, you know, not a lot of shops do this kind of work or even have offer this kind of work, but the attention to detail. When I ship this bike to Honolulu, Hawaii, or to the UK, or to Japan, or wherever it's going to go, a lot of our bikes go overseas. I want to know it's right. I test ride it. I put my ass on the line. If I'm riding 3-4 gear wheelies on this bike, you know the bike's right. You know it's been gone through, and the carburetion's perfect. It's on point. Everything's done on the bike. It's one of the few vintage 4-strokes that is easy to start because of the decompression release. There's no technique to this thing. There's no decompression levers or all you got to do, like any other big bore, kick it past top dead center and kick it. The time on the video here is the only time I've ever started it that it didn't start second kick. It usually starts second kick. Just make sure there's gas in it, you know. So that's about it, folks. I can ramble all day. This is a classic Honda, Kaplan America approved. It is just rock solid front to back. The rear swing arm bearings are nice and tight. The wheel bearings are good. The steering head bearings are good. There's no play in the front wheel whatsoever. Good luck finding a nicer one, one that was rebuilt like this one was done. They're just not out there. The guys that have these are keeping them. They know what they have. So I wish we could keep it, but we can't keep them all. So hope it goes to a great home. Call us if you have any questions, 860-454-7024. Ship it anywhere in the continental U.S. for $500. We can easily ship it over to the UK overseas for starting at around $750 to the UK. So just call for a quote or come here to the museum and pick it up. You can leave it here as long as you like. We'd love to have this on display in the museum. So good luck bidding on it. I'm going to roll her back into the museum, and she'll be there on display till you come pick it up. Thanks for watching. God bless America, and God bless Japan for building these dream bikes. This is a dream bike right here, an absolute joy.